I suspected your husband of a crime. Would that shock you?
Dennis, I am so humbled to chat with you today. I've been a big fan of yours since I was in high school reading all your books. And so I'm very honored. And thank you so much for your time. We can get into spoilers for the whole series. I was really just taken aback by Smoke. It is so well done and it's so good. I'm very obsessed with the series. It is inspired by the podcast Firebug, but you molded to a very complex fictional world. What was the first narrative hook that made you say, after listening to it, like, I have to build a show around this?
Well, it was brought to me as, would you build a show around this being Firebug? And when I listened to Firebug, I was like, I don't see a show here, but I'm fascinated with the pathology of John Orr. Like the idea of somebody, I think we live in an age of performative masculinity. You know what I mean? Nobody knows what it is to be a man anymore. And it's led to some really depressing results. And, Orr was so performative that he was an arsonist who was also an arson investigator. So he got to be both the villain and the good guy and the hero. And he thought he was the hero. And then he wrote a book. He was so convinced of his own, I don't know what to describe this as, that he writes a book in which a character is chasing an arsonist who's committing arsons that are direct mirrors of the actual arsons that were happening and could make the book basically a confessional. I thought that was just so insane that I thought, that's a story. And if I could take that, move it into now, you know, because the real events happened 40 years ago and I wasn't really interested in too many of the real events, then add in a bunch of other characters who are dealing with their own issues in terms of the truth of themselves, if you will, then I bet I could have a pretty fun show. And the deeper we dove into it, it began to really surprise me. And it became a show about chaos, really. Emotional chaos, relationship chaos, the social chaos we're all living in right now. I just thought, and then you add fire. I mean, fire is
the ultimate thing. Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, getting into the spoilers too of that finale, which actually hinges on the idea that everyone's mask has burned off. We see everybody for being who they really are. Did you see the finale as a tragedy or a story more about justice or just something more cynical? Because, you know, we lose Freddie. We see Michelle. She is not who we thought she was in the beginning. She's got a little bit of self-righteousness to her, you know, and then of course, Dave, there's, you know, we can talk about Dave more, but I mean, there's a lot at the finale that happens.
Well, yeah. And everybody who causes all this destruction in the show, is lying to themselves. And then they project those lies onto everything else. And then they start building narratives based on lies. And that just causes more and more pain and more death. And I was interested in the end, you know, who are any of these people? Hopefully we get into season 2 to really find out. But it was always meant to be a 3-season show. We'll see if we're successful enough to earn a second season. But my dream was to tell a story about people who in some ways are just attracted to their own self-destruction, which I think, you know, there's this lie we all live with, which is that we want happiness. Nobody wants happiness. If people wanted happiness, they could have happiness. They don't want it because happiness gets very boring very fast. And it's like the Talking Heads line, you know, heaven is a place where nothing ever happens. That's happiness. What people want is to feel alive. And they're willing to risk a lot to feel that, including death. And so is everybody in this show.
You know, the reveal that I think that Dave's reveal was a big twist. I did not see coming. He's an old man all along, balding, overweight. That's just insane to me. And I thought it was so well done, though. When did the element of that duality crystallize for you in the writing process? Because how much of the show was designed around the idea that we were always seeing him through his very skewed lens?
I can't remember. I won't lie and say I can remember exactly when it took root, but I feel like it was halfway through the planning of the show. And I remember when there are moments in the show that I remember when I came up with them. And I remember walking in and dropping them on the table at the writer's room like bombs. You know, one was Michelle's going to shoot Arch Stanton. And everybody was like, what? and then Michelle's going to kill who she kills. And then I remember going, Dave's not Dave. Dave's not Dave. Dave's not what we're seeing. That doesn't make sense. What makes sense is if he's a projection. That makes sense. That works for what I know of that type of male.
Yeah, no, that is very succinct. It makes so much sense. And when I saw that, I was like, this is exactly the type of person that we sometimes see, we come across, and, you know, they kind of hype themselves up. But I will say, last question, you know, the stuff with Michelle is intense because she does kill Burke, somebody that, you know, I feel that they did love each other in their own, you know, special way.
Yeah, they did.
But the camera twist sets up future fallout, especially as we see her now imagining Burke talking to her. There's still a lot of story to tell. So if there's a season 2, and I know you mentioned it, are you interested in exploring more about how Michelle justifies, you know, what she's done, or is she going to spiral? And like, how do you see that really playing out from the end of the finale?
Oh, you got to wait to find out. We have it. We know where it's going for sure.
Okay.
But no, that'll be the interest. If I just tell you, then you'll be like, well, I'll watch season 2 then, you know? No. You know, we want to, Michelle is, I mean, talk about somebody who's running to stand still. I mean, she's all about running. Never slow down, never look at yourself, never deal. That's going to catch up.
Did you always see her crossing that line, or did that arc sort of evolve toward something else when in the writing process?
I knew Michelle was really messed up early, very early. Like she just was so intriguing that way. Like I was like, what kind of woman goes and fights in the Marines? What kind of woman comes back and becomes a cop? What kind of woman comes from a kind of background? I always knew about her mother. I always knew the story of her mother. So I was like, what kind of woman comes from that mother? That's a dangerous individual. And I wanted her to be that right from the get-go. I mean, she looks at her lover lighting a cigarette, stares right at the flame, and makes the dumbest decision of her life. And she continually does repeats of that throughout the show.
I will say that scene with Rafe and Jurnee, very well done between the two of them, but very intense. I did not expect to see that happen for Burke and Michelle, because I thought, you know, it was just a regular relationship. But you guys did so good, and I cannot wait until everybody sees that and freaks out, because I freaked out a lot.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. Yay.
Of course, it's great to freak out. But Dennis, thank you so much for your time. Again, I really do appreciate speaking with you. Big fan of your work.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for this.